welcome to an informal book talk on this wonderful piece of literature.
It sprung from a masterpiece of just...
Cinematic proportions?
Yes. For those of you who have not heard of The Room, I suggest that you go and you find a screening of it. Do not rent and watch it at home because you
Go to a screening.
Yeah. Go to a screening of The Room and just appreciate the awfulness of majestic proportions that this movie is. And then go read this book.
So this book is a memoir from one of the actors who plays one of the main characters in The Room. The guy's name is Greg, his character's name is Mark, and there are so many just quotes about Mark that you, like, once you see this movie, you'll get the whole, ha, that's a funny story, Mark. Like,
you just hear this awkward voice in your head every time you're reading this book. But so anyways, The Room was filmed, and it was a disaster, and it was put out, and it eventually became a cult following kind of movie because it was just so bad. So you throw spoons at the screen, you yell certain things when certain scenes come up.
My favorite, okay, so there's this panning across the Golden Gate Bridge, and the first time we ever went to a screening, I think there were like 8 of us in the theater at this point, and it's panning across the bridge, and like 8 people are just going, go, 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 go,
and then it stops, and it doesn't get all the way through the shot, and you're like, no!
And then it comes back like 20 minutes later, and just like, go, 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 go. So, Tommy Wiseau. I'll throw a picture of Tommy Wiseau up here on screen so you guys can see it. Tommy Wiseau is
the most crazy looking human being you will ever encounter.
Like this movie, it's just it's Tommy Wiseau. Like, he wrote it, he directed it, he produced it, he starred in it.
And it was just all of his psyche and all of the stuff that goes on in his brain just kind of like
thrown on screen.
Yeah.
Wiseau spent $6 million of his own money on his film, but despite the efforts of the disbelieving and frequently fired crew and embarrassed and frequently fired actors, the movie made no sense. Nevertheless, Wiseau rented a Hollywood billboard featuring his alarming headshot and staged a red carpet premiere. The Room made, wait for it, $1,800 at the box office and closed after 2 weeks. One reviewer said the film that watching The Room was like getting stabbed in the head.
And if you're not properly prepared, yeah, that's what it is.
We were first introduced to The Room through a review by the Nostalgia Critic, and I didn't think it was real.
No, because
I thought it wasn't real. I thought he was making this up.
Because it's just so ridiculous. And just...
So this book basically follows Greg, and I think he's 19, and he wants to be an actor, and he's going to all these acting classes, and he goes to this one acting class where he sees this guy who... Oh, there are so many different descriptions of Wiseau in this book. Like, he grew somewhere moist, or vampire,
or just and got that black hair and that weirdly muscled body and
the undistinguishable voice
and he
accent.
Looks like he's like 50, but he claims he's like 30, and you're just
and Greg doing what a normal person would not do was like, damn. I'm gonna do a scene with that guy.
He looks so confident. He does not care what people think about his acting.
And then it just turns into this crazy train of this friendship, and he moves into Wiseau's apartment, and it's just...
This book, if you are a fan of The Room, and I use that fan word very loosely, is definitely for you, because you're just drawn into this world where you described it as a hostage situation.
Yeah.
And it was basically just Okay, you described it as a hostage situation.
It was a hostage situation because as you're reading it, and...
But what's that syndrome?
Stockholm.
Yeah.
As you're reading it, you're just kind of like, okay, this is... Maybe you should, like, get out. I know, just get out. And he's always like, oh, you know, but it's so endearing, and na-na-na. And you like...
And he's been so, like, supportive of me since I started this.
And I owe him so much, and you're just like, look. Get out. What was your favorite part to close? What was your favorite part?
Oh, Jesus.
It's hard to choose. Like, this is... This book is difficult to read. It's not difficult to read because it's not interesting or it's not, like, written well. It's difficult to read because you read something and you're like, no. No. Okay, so I'll rephrase my question. What was the most ridiculous part of the book to you?
I'm kind of tied between the part where Mark pulls into the drive to Tommy Wiseau's parking lot, turns around, sees another car owned by Tommy Wiseau, and it's got the sign of the Zodiac Killer just drawn into the dust on the car. And I'm reading this book like, how was that not your cue to run? And then Tommy's like, oh, I don't know what that symbol means. But I'm like, run anyways! And then there was the part where he's like, oh, I need to show my ass to sell this film. And then Mark says something like, never have I seen somebody more confident in front of people who resent him. Like, just, oh my god. And you watch that scene and you're just like, no more.
Definitely the ass thing is, like, one of my favorite parts of the book, because, like, you're watching the movie and you're just like, how did that make the final cut? Like, I'm gonna go, like, wash my eyes, but how did that... And then, just any part where they're living together. Like, when Tommy moves back into the LA apartment, and he puts up these curtains across the room. And...
you just hear noises from the other side.
And then, the pinnacle of awkward for me is so... Greg sleeps in this, like, the room, and Tommy has his, like, Tommy cave thing. But there's, like, 2 doors, and, like, I guess technically 3 with the washroom, but there are 2 doors, the door to Greg's room, and so Tommy installs a pull-up bar, and so at random hours in the night, Greg can hear his door open, and Tommy starts doing pull-ups on his... And I'm just like...
It's so creepy.
This book told me everything that I ever wanted to know about this movie. And about this magical, magical man. Read this book. Go see The Room, read this book, and then go see The Room again. Because
it's just that
it's
good.
eye-opening, and it just... My perspective on the movie has changed. Because now I know the how's your sex life thing has a little bit of context.